So, for me, I think the key element here, and the reason we think it's right to call it formative assessment, is it's about how teachers get evidence about what's happening in the minds of the children they're teaching, so they can actually adjust their teaching to better meet the students' learning needs. So teachers typically ask a question of a class, and they get an answer from one or two students, and from that evidence, they have to make a decision about whether the class should move on or go back and spend some more time on the same topic. Now, if you ask the class a question, the students who are answering are usually the ones who are confident and usually the ones who are high achieving. So what we see when we go into classrooms all over the world is teachers making decisions about the learning needs of 30 students on the basis of evidence from just one or two students. And a moment's reflection should convince you that's not very smart. And the big idea for me of formative assessment, and the reason it's a good idea to call it an assessment process, it's about the adequacy of the evidence that teachers have for the decisions that they need to take. And what I'm suggesting is we need to broaden the base of evidence. We can't make good decisions about the learning needs of 30 students if we're only hearing from the students who are confident. So assessment is a process of evidentiary reasoning. An assessment is simply a procedure for drawing conclusions. That's all an assessment is. We give students things to do, we look at the evidence, and we draw conclusions. And what I'm saying is the reason that formative assessment is a priority is because what we have found is that when teachers focus on what it is the students are learning, they can actually improve their practice. Formative assessment is about asking two very simple questions. What did I just do as a teacher? What did my students learn? As long as teachers are reflecting on that process of what you just did as a teacher and what did your students learn, you are doing formative assessment. And if you're not doing formative assessment, you might as well be speaking your lessons into a video camera sent to children in another city, because there's no interaction. Even when the teacher is reacting to the students, if he reacts to the expressions on their faces, he's not getting evidence about what's working and what's not. So it's about helping teachers move beyond that shallow, are the students smiling, are the students frowning, towards what evidence do I have that what I'm doing is having the effect I hope. Interestingly, when we started working with teachers to embed this, we focused on what teachers were doing, but we found that you couldn't change what teachers were doing without changing what students were doing. And so what we've seen when teachers embrace this idea is a complete change in the culture of the classroom. Students become more involved in their own learning, they take greater responsibility for their learning. One teacher described it like this. She said, formative assessment is about making the students' voices louder and making the teachers' hearing better.
Thank you so much.